just 2 weeks ago, we had one of our biggest swells to hit Hawaii, and some people are saying over 10 years.
Wow.
And I was out surfing with the intention of catching the biggest wave of my life, and so I was out there sitting the furthest out, waiting for the biggest wave of the day. I studied the swell and the forecast, and it was forecasted to peak between 1 and 3 p.m. Hawaii time. And so as the time approached, I put myself far out, way further out than everyone else, expecting that the ocean is going to send some bombs my way. And all of a sudden, right when I was starting to think I'm too far out, I'm over 100 yards out than everyone else. Maybe I'm too far out.
Yeah.
These freaking walls of water grew from the horizon, and the first one, I barely made it over.
Wow.
You have a choice to fight or surrender in big wave surfing. When you fight, that's when you're grateful for your physical preparations. When you surrender, that's when you're grateful for your mental preparations. And that choice that you make could be life or death between fighting and surrendering. And in that moment, when the first wave was approaching, I knew that I could probably make it past the wave before it threw and broke. And so I chose to fight. And I was fighting, paddling hard, getting my speed, breathing consciously though.
Yeah, because that's that happy medium, because you think, I'm going to fight, which means I've got to use a lot of energy. If I don't hit this, then it's going to straight on top of you. And then you're knackered.
And so you have to be conscious of your breath, even when you're sprinting, right? And so in that short sprint, I got over the wave. And you were mentioning with your in doubt moment in the ocean, how when you're going up and over the waves, like the speed of the wave passing you, when you get over, drop down the back.
Yeah, you fall.
All of a sudden, I'm climbing up this wave that is literally 50 feet tall at least, up this face. All of a sudden, the wave passed me with so much speed, and the apparent wind is lifting water to the point where I'm free falling down the back of the wave. And I can't see shit because all my vision is a curtain white spray. And all of a sudden, after 10 feet, it felt like maybe even more free falling. Boom! Slam my chest. Great medicine ball throws at your stomach during training days. And all of a sudden, that's when I'm deciding I might want to be surrendering.
Yeah.
Because most waves don't come in pairs of one. Right? And so I'm paddling, kind of starting to surrender. Like I can't see anything. It's all white. The wind and this wall of water. Now a 50-foot wave sent a 100-foot wall of white spray that is blocking my vision to what's behind.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to slow down, but still kind of, paddling hard. As this curtain of white spray unveils, what's behind it is the biggest wave I've ever seen up and close in my life.
Oh man.
And at that moment, there was parts of me that maybe wanted to panic. Importance, and it's not even like it was a choice at that time. I would say I did choose to surrender, but in other ways, I went into this autopilot.
Acceptance. I think it's more acceptance, right?
Yeah, it was like my subconscious. I surrendered to the moment, and my subconscious took control. I didn't look at it like a deer in the headlights. I put my head down. I took a big, deep breath consciously. I slowed down my paddle cadence. Long exhale to slow my heart rate. Eyes up. Okay, here we go. Big, deep breath. And I decided to stand up on my board to dive off so that I could penetrate the surface. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but surface tension can mean breaking bones when you get caught between a wave, especially a wave with that much mass and that much density of water. And so even if you could break surface tension and go a foot or two under the surface, you're going to take away a lot of the initial impact.
Yeah.
Right. And so I made that choice again, but it was almost autopilot. Like, it's not like everything was in. Sometimes you hear people in slow motion. I had so much time to collect and make this choice. And yeah, in a way that might have been happening, but almost more so thinking back on it, it was like, it just happened. My body took control. My subconscious and my preparation got called to action, and I slowed down my pace. I took my eyes away from it, and I faced my fears, and I kept my cool, and I dove down, and I got the most aggressive ragdoll beating of my life.
Oh, man.
And I felt arms and legs were going to be ripped off, and I immediately reached for my vest, which has an inflation valve with CO2 cartridges. And I hard to even reach up to my chest to grab the thing because the water felt like it was tearing my arms apart. And I reach up, I pull it, and after that, I just grab my freaking vest as tight as I can. And I'm holding up here, and I'm just trying to relax while keeping my arms and legs tucked in. Right? Because I don't want to get whiplash or break an arm from having my.
Because the other worry as well is when the board flapping about everywhere, because bang can hit you, right?
That's almost more of a concern than being held, because we have safety precautions, right? We go out with foam float that gives us a little bit of impact protection, but it also will float us to the surface, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But we also are wearing a vest with CO2 air cartridges that gives us 4 opportunities to pull and inflate air.
Yeah.
Now, that's the last case. That's like worst case scenario, or your last safety precaution, right? And in that case, I pulled it immediately because I knew it was a serious situation. I didn't wait for me to say, "Oh man, I hurt myself."
The price of CO2 isn't worth dying over it, is it?
Exactly. And I also knew from my past experience that when you are inflated, you get dragged in more. And so to think that I had 500 yards, think 5 football fields of impact zone.
Yeah, man.
Waves 20 to 80 feet tall.
And you can't just turn around and take a whitewater in, can you? No. You can't take one of those in, man. No. You can't.
So I was able to get dragged in far enough but I was down for a bit. I mean, you could go back and look in that video that it's pinned on my Instagram and it's also on my YouTube.
Okay.
But that was definitely most surfers' nightmare.
You were saying
I could humbly say that. But I could also humbly say it's not something I ever want to experience again.
No.